My grandfather was Truett Cathy. He was the founder of Chick-fil-A. His first restaurant back in 1946, and the first Chick-fil-A founded right here in Atlanta in 1967. Late in life, he had got bit by the car buying bug at age, I think in his 70s. He started collecting cars. In the last 19, 20 years of his life, he collected about 300 vehicles. One of those vehicles that I'm here to talk about today is a 1983 Lamborghini Countach finished in blue Acapulco. A very, very cool, very unique car, a very special car in the collection. There's a handful of cars that really stick out, and that's definitely up there. Well, first, my grandfather started collecting around 96 to celebrate his 50 years in the restaurant business. They opened the Truett's Grill in Morrow, Mount Zion, Georgia, a 1950s diner-style restaurant, and he wanted to buy some gas and oil signage and memorabilia to go on the walls. He went to his friend's house, Mr. George Glaze, to buy some signage off of him, and in George's garage were a collection of antique vehicles, and Truett asked George, "Hey, where'd you get all these cars?" He said, "Well, let me tell you about the auctions." So sure enough, George got Truett along up to Indiana, and they started going to car auctions. In pretty short order, he started buying cars. At first, a couple cars, a Model T and an old 1940s Ford to sit in the parking lot of the restaurant. And quickly, he loved getting a good deal. He was a child of the Depression, but he loved getting a good deal. And he always bought the car that at the auction, most people would gather around and oogle over. And that's kind of the car that he would go after in the auction. He didn't really have a rhyme or reason to his collection. Very eclectic collection. Everything from a 1914 LaFrance fire engine up to a GMC Hummer, I should say. Just everything in between. A lot of pre-war cars, post-war cars, a little bit of everything. And so in 1999, he vacationed for years down near Daytona Beach, Florida, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. And there's a family down there known that there's a Root family, R-O-O-T, famous for the Coca-Cola bottling world. They won a design award in the early 1900s to design and produce the original Coca-Cola glass bottle shape. And they also owned a number of bottling plants in about a dozen different states. And one of the grandsons, I believe, of that company, the Root family, liked cars. They all, as a family, they were into car racing. They formerly lived near the Indiana 500 before they moved to Florida. They were liquidating a lot of the estate, and Truett bought a dozen of these cars all at once. There was the Lamborghini Countach, a Ferrari 308. There was even a little Mazda Miata that me and my siblings and cousins all got to drive. A number of other cars as well. And he actually paid $50,000 for this Lamborghini Countach. So kind of the low market in the late 90s of the value of Countaches. And I'm sure at the time he thought he was maybe paying too much, but he was able to bundle a dozen cars together with the Countach, brought it home back to Atlanta. They actually was the last time that Truett drove back home, I believe, in the Mazda Miata from Florida all the way back to his house south of Atlanta. He drove the Mazda Miata all the way home. He loved the Countach and realized the attention that it got from others. And whenever he had a special car that he was particularly proud of, he would take it to the Chick-fil-A headquarters right next to the Atlanta airport. So it went on display for many years, static display at the Chick-fil-A headquarters in the breezeway between two buildings there for many, many years. I'd say for the better part of 8, 9, 10 years even, it sat on display there. There was one occasion he had it back at his home, and as he added more cars, he would build more car hangars, purpose-built car hangars for these buildings, to the point where my grandmother got mad at him and said, "True, you've got to quit building these car buildings." And he agreed, but he quickly realized that he'd fill his car barns up, filled with cars, and even the alleyway in between the cars would be filled with cars. It was quite the hassle to get this car and that car in and out for service or a show or whatever. And so he went back to his wife and said, "Hey, I'm not going to build another building, but can I extend one building?" And she relinquished and said yes. And so he added double the size of one of the car hangars, which became a big issue because now she could see it from her bedroom window, and she was not happy about that. So with Countach was at his house one particular time, and Truett didn't necessarily drive or fix up or redo or refurbish the cars. He really just enjoyed looking at them. More than that, he enjoyed the joy that it brought other people. So one particular day, I'd asked him, we'd go down there to ride dirt bikes on the weekend. I said, "Hey, Granny, can I drive one of the cars?" And most of the time, the answer was no. And if it was yes, we just got to drive something like this 93 Miata that we got to drive. This one time, he said yes, and I didn't say which car I wanted to drive, and he didn't say anything either. So all the keys were left in the cars and turned the battery switch on, and Countach actually fired up. So I had my friend with me, and we drove it about 7, 8, 9 miles down the road to the local Starbucks and back. Got lots of looks, and that was the one time during his ownership that I got to drive the car. The number one thing I remember afterwards is how sore my left leg was. Very heavy clutch, very heavy shifter, It's quite the experience, but it brought definitely joy to me and my buddy. Memorable experience for that one time that I got to drive it. There's another time that Truett actually got to drive the car, as I mentioned earlier. When he took it to the office, when it went on display there, he drove it from his house on the south of Atlanta all the way up to downtown Atlanta. He drove the whole way, and I heard this from a friend that worked with him. He said he never left second gear, I believe, the Countach, all the way from his house to the office. Maybe went 35, maybe 40 miles an hour all the way there, backing up traffic. One, because he's going slow, and two, obviously, because it's a Countach going down the road, not something you see every day. So here he was, in late 70s, maybe early 80s, driving a Countach at 35 miles an hour. It probably took him an hour to get there, I would guess, and then went on display there at the office. But yeah, just a very unique, very cool car. Like I said, one of the most special ones of the collection, in my opinion. Another brief story of another car that's still on display at the Chick-fil-A headquarters. If you ever have a chance to go by there and tour the headquarters, you'll see there's a Batmobile sitting there. And so in my mind, out of the 300 cars I wear, there was two that really stand out in your mind, in my mind, and in others to the public, and that was the Batmobile and the Countach. Grandfather, Truett, passed back in 2014. Been 10 years ago now since he passed. He lived to be age 93. And he, like I said, with those 300 cars, 2 years after he passed, we decided to have a charity auction to raise money for WinShape, the ministry side of Chick-fil-A that does multiple things from marriage to summer camps to foster homes. And so he's very passionate about helping others. And so this is a way to honor his request. It was actually in his wishes for a car museum to be built. However, that was quickly realized that there was no way that the private access to the home that they were going to be have a car museum, and it wasn't going to be too much to build a car museum. So they made the decision to, hey, let's sell the cars, raise money from WinShape. Truett would love that, give it back for a good cause. So that happened. It was actually a closed auction. You had to be a Chick-fil-A operator or staff person to be part of this auction. It was all done online through the phone. They had brought all the cars to the office and an empty warehouse, put them all on display. It was a great time going around. I remember the day before the auction, I took a few friends down there. We got to see all the cars and sit in them one last time before they were to be dispersed and raise this money for charity. So the Countach was the highest appraised of these 300 cars at $300,000 back in 2016. And so it came to pass that nobody put the minimum bid of $300,000 on the Countach. So about a month or two later, a group of three gentlemen bought it as an investment. They actually got it down to $275,000 because of that suspected clutch issue. Even more difficult clutch pressure than it should have been. So they got it for $275 at the time, and they went on to sell it, I think just a few months or a year later. One of the gentlemen was a British gentleman, and they sold it actually back to London. There was a guy named Danny Donovan Classics still in business there in London, selling classic cars. And so it went to London. I might have gone to California or New York before it left, after it left Atlanta. I'm not 100% sure. But it found its way across the pond back in London. They had it repainted back to the original blue Acapulco, a beautiful shade of dark blue, very rare color for Countaches. Most Countaches are red, white, black. If you have anything other than that, it's pretty rare. And my understanding, there's about one of 6 Countaches painted in blue Acapulco for the 1983 year, the 5000S model. So after about a year, it was in 2017, it was in the London Motor Car Festival, a big car show they have there. And they had it, I believe, for about a year. And they had an interested buyer, actually from Italy, reach out to them. There's a very peculiar set of circumstances around the sale of this vehicle and who this owner may or may not have been. We actually called Danny Donovan up to get some history from the car while it was there, and it was told to us. I originally heard it may have been a Formula One race team type person, but it was their understanding this person may or may not have been involved in the mafia. May or may not be true, but interesting little blip in its story. It actually spent 4 years in southern Italy. And at the time, a few summers ago, I guess about 2 summers ago now, I reached out to my granddad's former assistant. Her name is Martha. And I said, hey, Martha. And she helped with the sale of all the vehicles. And I said, there's a few cars I would just, out of curiosity's sake, would like to know where they were. Not really that I was interested in buying it. I just want to know where they were, if an operator bought them, or if it wasn't sold in the Chick-fil-A auction, where they might have ended up. And on that list, of course, was the Countach, as was a DeLorean and the Ferrari and a couple other unique cars that I liked. And so it took not too long to find where the other cars, a couple of them had changed hands and bought and sold or traded in. A couple of operators still enjoying them, fixing up. One of the cars, the Ferrari 308, still shown in Atlanta, pops up on social media. But the Countach was getting near impossible to track down. Kept hitting dead end after dead end. And at the time, I had started following social media. John Temerian down at Curated. I knew that he was kind of the Countach expert, so I reached out to him. Hey, John, Instagram message, tried to track down my grandfather's old Countach. Here's the VIN number. Didn't hear much back from him initially. I reached back another few weeks later, and He quickly responded, "Hey, send me that VIN number again." I sent him the VIN number and he said, "You won't believe it." He said, "I recognize this VIN number. I just had this car inspected and tried to buy it. They turned down my offer less than a month ago in Italy." And it blew my mind. My heart sank when I found out they did cross the ocean all the way back to Italy, back to its country of origin. It's like, man, it's going to be really hard to track down or come back now. So John went to the Monterey Car Week a couple years ago now and saw a similar Countach sell for close to $1 million after auction fees. He heard the story about the Chick-fil-A connection with this car, and he went ahead and paid the full asking price to the owner in southern Italy, had the car shipped back on a 747 cargo plane into the Atlanta airport, and then was trucked down to curated Miami. In Miami, they talk about paying it forward. And this is a huge thank you, personal shout out to John, Jordy, everybody at Curated. Amazing. They really are truly passionate, not only making money, of course, when they sell a car, but really finding the right owner. And John really did me a solid by holding on to it, keeping it off market, off the showroom floor, really, so that I could get my finance in order. And it really took almost a year for that to happen. So super gracious, super thankful for John to really paying it forward personally for me. Well, I went down to Miami to check on it at least twice, and I took a friend with me. I took my dad once, and I was in this whole time prior to me actually purchasing, I'd been reaching out to 10, 15, 20 different people, siblings, cousins, people that work with Chick-fil-A, people that don't. One of the former owners, one of the group of three investors that initially bought it 2016, trying to find somebody to partner with me. I really wanted to be like a minority owner in it. I thought about maybe trying to get it to the Savoy Auto Museum, have it donated there, maybe something like that. And I really couldn't find the right situation. And I found myself on a one man island trying to make this happen. And it seemed like everything was going great in the beginning. All the doors were opening up and it seemed like this was going to happen. And John got it back and everything was coming together. And then I kept hitting brick wall after brick wall. I was like, man, I can't find somebody to help me. And I was discouraged. I was driving back from Atlanta up to Chattanooga where I live. And I pulled over to a gas station. I called John up on a Monday. I said, "John," I said, I've tried, but I think it's time. Why don't you find a good buyer for it? Maybe I can track down years in the future." I was really disheartened. I was like, "But I know I trust you. You'll find a good owner for it. But I don't think I can make it happen financially at this time, as much as it hurt me to say that." I actually got back later that day. I sat down on my computer, maybe the next day, and I started typing out the history of the car because I wanted to pass that along to John and for the next owner. And I started writing that story down. And you know what? Nobody else is going to know, appreciate, love, be as passionate about the story. Because yes, it's a cool car, but for me, really, it's about the story that it tells. And so I started writing that down. I was like, nobody else is going to feel this way about it. I really am the right person for this thing. So I called John back, and I know he thought I was crazy. I would say, "Hey, I'm back in it," and he made some connections with me with the lease company, and we got creative, and made it happen. Was able to make payments on it for a year, and just recently, I can super proud to say that I now own the title of the car. Huge, huge deal. Really hasn't sank in yet, but it's really amazing for that title to come in the mail. It's just a special, special experience. Full circle to have the car back in my ownership. A huge thank you again to him. But and that was special. Went down there again, took a friend with me down to Miami twice, like I said, to check on it, and then when I actually owned it, to take it for a drive. The gentleman named Steven that works with them took it out on a drive with me, and I remember that at the time the idle was set real low, and we were just driving on the slow, trafficy side streets of Miami and stalling at red lights, and that clutch pedal was still incredibly, incredibly stiff. Come to find out later, a few months later, when I had it back in Chattanooga, up at Quick Everett, shout out to Perry and Hal. Hal is a mechanical genius. Ended up fixing a block clutch line for, I believe, I seriously think it was like a $36 fix or something like that. And it was not as anything as crazy as replacing the whole clutch or full engine out or anything like that. And so that was amazing. It became much more enjoyable to drive once that. Still heavy as a Countach, and any Countach is, but much more enjoyable to drive, and still drives great, incredibly well. Has 17,000 kilometers on it, just over 11,000 miles. Still in great condition. Put some new tires on it, and it's running great. Taken out to local car shows. It's in the Chattanooga Motor Car Festival last fall. It's been to a number of small shows. Just yesterday, actually, had it in the local Cars and Coffee up in Chattanooga, and it's really special to see. Just as my grandfather's passionate about the joy that he saw the cars brought in other people, I get to see that now, and it's great to have it out in the public. Get kids and adults and as well to get in there, take pictures, and it's really, really special. Also excited to share the car at the Savoy Auto Museum up in Cartersville this fall for a 4-month long show. To be going there this fall, so love for you to go see it. as well as great car museum they have there at Savoy. But it's really special, and I really wanted to have the car that was back out in the public. There are a handful of cars, about six, seven, eight of them on display at the Chick-fil-A office. But to have one that's out being driven and enjoyed by the public is really, really special. So personally, it's just a joy and experience to drive it. You've got to be in the right mood, you got to be in the right headspace, you got to have the right footwear, which is no footwear on to drive a Countach. It's a very special car. I enjoy driving it. I like for many years it just sat on static display. Whenever I see a car or motorcycle stuck in a corner collecting dust, it kind of hurts my spirit. I'm not one of those that necessarily thinks that every car or motorcycle has a soul, but I do believe it's a mechanical thing that needs to be used, wants to be used, needs to be driven. And so thankfully, it's been brought up to snuff with the help of the guys at Quick Everett's, Hal and Perry, and it's actually surprisingly drives very well. It doesn't leak oil. Occasionally it stalls out, but that's probably user error, not the driver error. And it drives, idles, sounds great, drives great, looks great. And it's in amazing condition. Like I said, only 17,000 kilometers. Many years set on static display, which is not great for that big naturally aspirated V12 engine. Got tons of oil. It's amazing. It can take 15, 20 minutes for that engine oil to heat up before you see that temp gauge come up, before you can really get on it. It's a car that, like I said, wants to be driven and really needs to be driven. The guys at Curated told me, hey, you really need to start that thing up and drive it once a week. I don't get to it quite that often, but it's great, and it hasn't really let me down. Been a couple of small issues here and there with a radiator fan, or like I said, the block clutch line that was fixed, put new tires on it. And I'm really, really amazed with how well it drives, runs, starts up. It's a pretty reliable machine when they're sorted, and it's a fun experience. I do enjoy taking to local car shows, getting it out there for the public to see. Like I said, just seeing the joy that brings other people, letting the kids sit in it, take pictures is really, really great. And one of my dreams is I'd like to potentially one day, I keep getting mixed reviews on this idea of whether or not I should put a wrap on it one day, cover up, not necessarily to cover up the pretty blue Acapulco color that it is, but I thought it'd be really cool to do a retro Chick-fil-A 1980s look. They used to have a different logo and some different things. I thought it'd be really neat to put a Chick-fil-A wrap on it one day. I may or may not do that one day, but just a fun idea that I've had. But for right now, I'm driving it, using it. Took my oldest son for the first ride out the other day, and it's just really, really special. Like I said, bring a fun experience and see a cool car out on the street again. It's really, really special.
Successful car purchasing is all about knowing your buying power and being able to move quickly, and the best way to do that is getting pre-qualified with Premier Financial Services. Call one of these numbers, speak to one of their representatives, fill out their application, and then you'll know exactly how much car you can buy. You'll approach a seller, tell them you're already qualified, you've got your simple lease set up from Premier Financial, and you'll be able to close very, very quickly. That's why Premier is one of the most powerful partners in the world of exotic car financing, and that's why I turn to them every time I go out and try to buy something crazy.